I stayed in the worst motel ever.
Oh, yeah, because you went. No, I mean, backstory. You went and you're selling a car and you're picking up a Mini Cooper.
I picked up a car. Picked up a 2006 Mini Cooper S, JCW.
I'm gonna get a Maximum Cooper.
Hey, Maximum Cooper. Fuck a Mini Cooper. I want this shit maximum. Yeah, I was looking at it, emailing with the guy, back and forth, super nice guy, and then it got to one of the points where I was so proud of myself because I did all my homework, which I never done before. I usually just buy the car, but I ran the Carfax report on it. It was already at a shop because
he had like whoever it is passed it off.
So this dude has a couple BMWs. He's like a 65-year-old dude, super nice guy, and he takes immaculate care of his car. So this car, his wife was driving it to and from work like a commuter, but then they were like, it's too small. A lot of people drive SUVs up here, so it'd been parked in a garage for 4 years.
We're talking Seattle, which makes sense, right?
Yeah,
they get snow, they get rain, they use snow tires a lot up there. It's like a thing.
Kirkland, so like just opposite the lake from Seattle, I guess. Mm-hmm. And they took it in the shop to do service, like belts, oil, spark plugs, like the whole thing to get ready to sell it. So it's still at the shop. So I called the shop.
Okay.
And he was like, they're the best. And I was like, all right. I was like, hey, can you do independent, just a deep dive inspection on this? And that was really cool. So it was a couple $100 and they gave me this whole printout where they took pictures of the car. There's like 20 pictures of the car all the way around, inside and outside, noting everything from like the most minor curb rash to these tiny little paint chips that just don't matter at all. Run the whole electrical diagnostic, check everything out.
Well, you're two states away, so that's super rad.
Yeah. So that came back all good. I was like, it looks good. I was like, so let's figure out when I want to come buy the car. What are you doing next week? And my family's coming to town this weekend. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, getting a lot of interest in the car. He's like, I didn't really know it was going to be this big of a deal, but a lot of people are hitting me up. And I was like, fuck. I was like, okay, this is Tuesday. I was like, well, I'll be there tomorrow.
Right.
He's all, you sure? I'm like, yeah. I was like, hold the car, keep it at the shop, and we can meet there tomorrow. Is that cool? He's all, yeah, it's cool. So I just jumped on Southwest, and we had a flight voucher, so I booked a flight out at 9:55 p.m.
Yeah, dude, I remember.
To SeaTac, and I was like, yeah, I'm not coming in tomorrow.
Yeah. I was on the phone with you, and you're all, I'm going to do a weird thing right now, but I'm going to go, I think, buy a car. I'm like, good, go get it.
So I just jumped up there, but I didn't have time to book like a proper motel, and Kirkland's not very big. So I was like, what's the closest to where I could stay? And it looked kind of okay.
Yeah.
And I got there, and it was fucking gross, dude. It was nasty. I went in the bathroom, and it just smelled not like poop or anything, but just like old towels and dirty laundry. And I was just...
They're like doing cold washes with just like the cheapest Kirkland stuff.
Oh, I was so bummed. I was there. And I didn't get in until midnight when it was all said and done. So I'm just like, well, I guess I'm going to sleep.
I mean, that's all you can do.
Here. And
I hope I don't get mites and we'll be good.
It's just going to make it weird.
Then you got a car, dude.
And it was fine. It actually ended up being cool because that sucked. But then I got up and there was a pretty cool coffee shop in town called 203 degrees. What is it? Celsius, Fahrenheit?
Probably.
I don't know. Like brewing water temperature, basically.
That'd be Fahrenheit. 203
Which
degrees
saw
Celsius
the name.
is off
203 degrees Celsius. It was so hot.
It was straight. I got liquid magma.
It was fucking sun.
They're calling
status.
203, huh? That's
203. No, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I've never been much for those kitschy names, but the shop was dope. It was that picture that I put up.
Yeah, it looked nice.
Yeah,
I thought you were in Seattle, and I was like, where's that spot? I want to go see it.
Just randomly in Kirkland.
They did a good job, whoever you are in Kirkland.
They did a good job, and they had a cool case machine, and they had the pour steady thing, and the coffee was good. Yeah, I don't even know.
Did you know whose it was or anything?
I saw they had some pictures of Counterculture on their Instagram, but it wasn't Counterculture when I was there. So I don't know if they started roasting their own or whatever. But it was
progressed.
Pretty dope.
To their
pretty
own
dope
level.
little place to sit and get coffee.
Then you got a car with some sick Great Britain flags on the window.
And I got a car. I got to change out those things, and then I hucked it back.
You did huck it back.
Drove back. Shout out to Case Coffee in Ashland. Stopped there.
I like Case.
Talked to the squad. Yeah, they were really cool. Gave me a line on a good burrito.
I think
it was fucking awesome.
Jonathan Raymond worked at Case.
No way.
That's part of the reason he took the little like hangout job time with us. Is
Jonathan Raymond is
He wrote
runs
a book
company called Refound. Yeah, he wrote a book
called Good Authority.
Yep.
And it's actually a really good book. And he was on our podcast a while back. You could probably listen to it. But early on, he came and kind of talked with us and did a little work with us. But yeah, he worked there after he left whatever he did. I forgot this whole story, but he worked there for like 6 months to a year, just kind of helping out, doing like stuff with, because that's the one with the roaster inside, right? Just the left.
So there's. I didn't go to that one. There's
also
two.
the one
They
with,
have
the
two
little
locations.
cool wood lights.
I didn't go to the roastery one.
Okay.
I went to that one.
Yeah.
That one's the one I went to is closer to downtown.
Yeah.
So it's by all the stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, I think the place I got the burrito was called Burrito Republic or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
Dude, he's it's this little hole in the wall. It's just really fresh ingredients. And it was literally one door with the stoniest dude in there ever who was so fucking nice. And he had his earpod, like Apple AirPod things in there. And I didn't even mind that he was wearing headphones because he was just the most genuine dude.
You know, it's a trip.
Ever. And it was
I might
awesome.
have literally seen that place on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives because I watched that for a while. And there was a couple places in Ashland that they showed up. And one of them was this crazy place that had been there forever. And I remembered thinking, like, it was kind of like that. The people on the TV were talking about, like, yeah, it's such a killer spot for the hottest Mexican food in the mall. Super good Mexican food in Ashland, Oregon, all you white people. And I'm sure it was really good. I'm not trying to say that. But I remember thinking, what? And then...
Well, here's the thing. It was really good. It was exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But it is not traditional Mexican style Mexican food. It's a good burrito with really fresh ingredients. The pork was done really well. The salsas and everything in there were just, it just felt, not super gnarly and heavy. But
dude, I'm down. I'm not even hating. It was
it's
just
not
one of those
like a
things where I'm like
taqueria
having
style ripper though. So if you want that, it's different. Yeah, it's definitely like
Burrito
a little
Republic
bit of a
Ashland.
white boy burrito, but
but it's still like that's no delivery, dude. I understand.
it's good. And there's no.
I think that is the place.
There's no seats or anything. It's just
maybe
it's just
not.
a hole.
Either way, it looks nice. It looks fresh. It looks simple. Not even simple. It looks delightful.
Burrito
and you made it
Republic,
home.
dude.
There was something that was kicking right into gear right at the beginning of that story that I wanted to talk about, and it felt real neat.
Was it jumping on a plane, staying in a cheap hotel?
No, but that would be cool.
Randomly buying a car 2 states away just for fun?
Just, what do I do next? Jump on a plane, buy a car.
With cash.
Cashola. No, I don't remember what it was at this point. I lost it. But
I mean, I started in on that because that was like a little mini whimsical vacation for me that was just on the fly, and it was definitely healthy for me because I had been unknowingly, I think, in the past year of this whole pandemic shit and everything going on with the business. Like the pandemic has infected my mind to this way to where I'm already a planner and I like things to be super dialed in. It makes me feel comfortable. So the pandemic just kind of built on that,
right?
Where it's like, oh, you got to plan to bring your mask. You got to plan to bring back up this. You got to plan to bring hand sanitizer and wipes. And like, if you're going somewhere, you got to know where the next cleanest 5 restrooms are that you can use. And it's just like, everything was super stressful. And that kind of carried into my life a little bit. And to be able to go like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing, and Jenny's all, just fucking get on a plane. It's not a big deal. Like, it doesn't matter. Just go fly.
Right.
She's flown a couple times since the pandemic, and I haven't.
Was that your first flight?
That was my first flight since the pandemic.
It is pretty chill, huh?
And yeah, it was super chill.
You still had mask on, or did they not make you?
Still mask on. Yeah. And it was good for me to just not have a plan together and to just go do something and realize that, oh yeah, I used to do this all the time, and it's really not that big of a deal.
No, the spontaneous is key.
Fly for 2 hours and then figure it out on the way is just really fun. And
so much
getting
better.
in, like, I'm so in my groove right now of, cool, this is where I go, this is what I do, to just be in another random town
where you can't do that.
Yeah, where I can't do that, and I need to figure out, oh cool, where do I get coffee? Oh cool, where do I get lunch? Oh cool, where do I go do this? And it was just rad to be surprised.
Yeah,
and
it's like such an ultimate free feeling.
Yeah.
I know, dude.
It was so cool. And had just some kick-ass service experiences. One with the coffee shop. They were just nothing like stand out. There's nothing that blew my mind. They were just genuinely friendly. I was like, oh, you guys.
The Kirkland spot.
Yeah. Like, you guys are really friendly. And you're really thoughtful, and I don't know. It was just a good energy, to be somewhere we hadn't been before. And then the place where I met the guy to buy the car, the auto service place, dude, Signature Independent in Kirkland, Washington is the shit.
Signature
They're
Independent.
so cool. Like, it's just a BMW mini repair shop. That's all they do.
It's like right up your alley.
They had a little waiting area in the front, and I walked in and with my bags, and she's like, "How can I help you?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm actually here to buy a car. I'm meeting someone." He's like, "Oh, you're buying the Mini?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's all, "Chris." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's all, "We talked on the phone," and he had my my notes and all my name and everything.
Yeah.
He's all, "Yeah." So he's all, "I know I emailed you the report, but I printed it out for you. Here's everything that we found, so you can keep this in your records." And Michael said he'll be here around 12:30. So
Yes.
they were just rad. He's like,
Yeah.
have a seat. There's internet. Like, here's the password. Do whatever you need to do. And they were just so.
That's a good feeling.
So on top of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I called prior and talked to two different people. And, it was Gabe and Eric. And the second time I talked to Eric, he's like, "Oh yeah, Gabe said he talked to you." I was like, "Dude, this place is
communication's
awesome."
on
Yeah.
fire here.
Yeah, you guys are killing it.
I think that's something too for us, or at least for me, that is so key. Is like we think and try to integrate so much shit about service and intentionality and hospitality that we don't quite get to receive it so much.
Yes.
So like going and getting quality hospitality that's even close to what we're trying to do in our cafes is like such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for people to forget that shit when they're like, yeah, that's just what they do at Cat and Cloud. But it's like, but a lot of people out there don't do it elsewhere. So when you get it, it's like, thank God, this is the shit right here.
I know.
Give me more, please. Let me just stay here.
I crave that
I
stuff.
do too, dude.
And it's so hard to find here. It's
In this town?
so hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could consistently shout out anywhere, and I mean, maybe if I thought about it hard enough, but even having to think about it hard enough is like a thing, you know?
There's a couple places.
Sure. But I mean, there's places also in the world that you can think about it like offhand, and you're like, how about Woody at the barbershop club? Like, immediately comes to mind.
Yeah.
You think about stuff like that, and you're like, I mean, I did personally have a couple good experiences like that at Specialized Auto, but not to that level. Just really good hospitality especially for a auto shop.
Yeah, it was totally unexpected.
But that's what you just suggested.
Completely
is next
unexpected.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I was psyched, and I love that. If you're having multiple transactions somewhere, whether it's a kitchen or a coffee shop or an auto store, it's nice to not have to retell the whole story of whatever you're doing, whether it's like, "Oh yeah, I'm here to meet someone for a car." And it's like, "Okay, who? What?"
Yeah.
Like, how? Or like, "Oh yeah, I ordered this and then this is happening." Or even if you write in for guest service online, like to have a log of everything. It's like, "Oh yeah, I saw you've last ordered this, that, and the other, and this is your address, and cool, we're gonna make that happen."
I noticed that was one of the first things when you were talking about how they greeted you. It was like, "Oh, so-and-so told," it was like when you walk in and you hear that, and like, "Oh, you're Chris, you're coming for the car." It's all, I got all your shit right here. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it's like they have a huddle or something, like a little morning
they're
huddle.
getting nothing from you.
No,
I guess they got the money for the service they got from you, but that's nothing.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
that was cheap. You know what I mean?
you are almost literally a nobody to them because you're coming and leaving and you're never giving them business again.
Yeah, guaranteed I'm never coming back there just because I don't live there. If
Yeah,
I did live there,
Two
I would go
states
there
away.
all the time. But it's just, they know that and they're still just in the zone.
I just really appreciate that stuff, the intentionality. Like, I was thinking still so much on, maybe it's kind of a tangent, but just that whole idea of understanding like the literal mission and vision of a company, and like that the company exists to do those things, and trying to, as a both team member and somebody who works there, to separate, like to include yourself, but also to separate yourself from the whole, meaning like, okay, no matter what happens with me here, I'm either contributing to this thing or I'm not, but it's this thing that we're all doing together. And it sounds like they're all, like Matt and Chris, whoever the other guy was that you were talking about.
Right,
said
Eric and Gabe were the dudes.
Eric and Gabe, Matt and Chris.
Whoever.
A couple of guys. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like they were all committed to something. And you could hear that just the way that somebody who's not going to be back ever is going to experience the place.
I don't know if it's a Kirkland thing, but
Is Kirkland just killing it, or is California not killing it?
California might not be killing it, because here's another level of service that doesn't have anything to do with the auto place, but the people that I got the car from. So they had all the service records for the car, and they brought all those. They had all the documentation. I was like, oh, I was looking up Washington law because I left in a hurry, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize I needed a bill of sale, because in California you just sign over the pink slip and do that whole thing, and there you do the title and you need a bill of sale. And the dude Michael that I got the car from, he's like, oh, we printed one out for you. Also, I went on down to the DMV and I picked you up a temporary trip permit so you can post it in the back window, and it'll
you won't get pulled over.
You get three days to drive home without having to get pulled over, because in Washington, when you sell a car, the owner keeps the plates.
Yeah.
So I didn't have plates on the car. So they're like, here you go. Like, this is just make your trip a little easier. You don't have to worry about it. I was like, dude, this is killer. I don't know. I was just having a good week.
That's a Kirkland thing.
It's a Kirkland thing.
I mean, maybe it's a Kirkland thing.
Maybe it's a Kirkland thing.
Maybe it's like a quality of life around the world.
I don't know.
I've been exploring, just like trying to figure that shit out, too.
Back to what you're saying, though, I think that's super important to realize, or to just get into a place where you can really back what they're trying to do on a bigger level.
I still like, I wonder how, and maybe it just never will happen, because we talk about this a lot, just the culture of the world. It hasn't come to this place yet, but when it's like, it seems so clear and logical to theoretically work for a place that has clear mission, vision, values, and to recognize what's happening, what we're trying to do, what they're trying to do, and that is the purpose, where you bring people into the equation, and they're all dynamic, and they're all different, and they're all different walks of life, and younger and older, and going through their own shit, and they bring something to the table always, no matter what, right? The good and mostly the good, but also the human. We'll call it.
People have baggage. And
right,
I don't say that in a
human.
negative way. It's just a byproduct of being alive.
Right. So but it's still a trip. Like, I wish it was easier for, and maybe that's why it's impossible to do, but everybody would be able to be so on the same page. It's like, oh, this makes sense. Like, so-and-so comes, so-and-so goes. People come and go. The quality of the human is not the indicator for who comes and goes. Like, the quality of the human and what the care that we or other people have for them is not an indicator of who comes and goes, who, you know what I'm saying?
Are you speaking of specifically people leaving organizations?
Leaving or just like participating. So you participate in an organization.
Yep.
And you leave. So, like, cool. If you leave, that's all that is. You could leave because you're not a good fit. You could leave because your values or your interests are evolving. You could leave because you got fired. Whatever the case may be, you either leave or come, but you're there to participate in creating something that the organization is trying to create. Right. And then when one of those many different ways somebody could leave a company, you leave, I notice still in the conversations that I'm having elsewhere, and then like internally, that everybody wants to know why and how and this and that and the other, right?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And it would just be, it seems to me, being an idealist, but also this feels very logical, that if you're clear as a company and your leadership and everybody are standing behind, even your team, protecting that culture of what you're trying to do, then no matter what, when somebody leaves, it's never from the business's side, like, per se on bad terms. It's on, this is not working for where we're going. You know what I'm saying? It just, to me, it can, unless it's literally malicious, which it almost never is malicious, it can always just be like, somebody is just departing from the company. We care about them the same. And it can be genuine.
Sure. Yeah. There's waves of different people's lives. Most people are not going to do the exact same thing for the rest of their life. So it's not surprising that someone would come work somewhere for a period of time.
Right.
And then leave, just like you might move to another town, do another thing, have other interests and hobbies.
College,
it's
graduate
cool.
high
You're
school.
trying to figure out what you want to do.
Right.
I don't think we have a ton of that here, or I haven't experienced a ton of that here. Less so now than in the past.
We keep getting better. Agreed.
And I think we've had our own little evolution too, because we used to use turnover as a huge marker of our success. Like we have really low turnover, and in some ways, low turnover is good for certain positions, but in some ways, a good amount of turnover is pretty healthy to flush the culture and keep it fresh and just keep it works different ways. Like I guess what I'm trying to say is we ended up at not all turnover is the same.
Agreed.
And not all turnover is negative. There's like a lot of turnover that can be positive. Like if someone works for us for a year and then goes on to do what they were ultimately born to do anyway, like that's awesome.
Right.
That's not a loss. That's a win, because when they were there for that year, they had a positive contribution to the culture. They learned stuff from the organization that they could take with them and be more valuable wherever they go. That's a win-win.
Right.
That's like a cool 1-year relationship where it's like awesome. And now whoever is gone, and that's great. And I think when you get the gossip train that comes with people leaving, or
there's like an intimacy of
like
workplaces when the culture is really strong too, right? Everybody shares with each other.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you're totally right. Gossip is one part of that. And then also there's like genuine care that can turn to gossip when somebody pops off or goes somewhere or just has a rough week or whatever, you know?
And as I've seen, the more we've been able to create a strong cultural foundation, the less of that weird gossip we have, because people understand what we're talking about right now. But in a regular, quote unquote, regular workplace, that doesn't exist. It's almost like
rampant.
It's almost like the vacuum of one thing creates the bubbling up of the other. If you don't have that strong sense of purpose in your workplace and you don't know exactly what you're contributing to, you still want to be a part of something.
Yes.
You still want to form a group. So there's a million ways that a group can form, and one of the ways that humans can connect is by gossiping and talking shit. And it's like, if you're not getting what you need,
we're all the same.
Me and you can buddy up and be like, dude,
yeah,
did you see what Chuck's doing? Yeah, Chuck's fucking losing it, bro. I think Chuck's going to quit. And guess what? He said this and that and that. And like, did you hear about this? And like, oh my God, this place is fucking going down in flames. Like, you'll create that because it's entertainment. It gives you a little group of people that you can vibe with. That's connection.
And then you're connecting. I know.
Yeah.
And it's like toxic connection.
100%.
To your point, on the other side though, there's also this thing that I very much agree with, that I think a lot of companies need to take into consideration, is the person who will be best for the job, who is not going to be the long-termer. So, meaning, I've heard way too many people, and even including our company, we're working through making sure this doesn't happen, but, oh, well, I don't know. They're only going to be here for like a year or two, so I don't want to hire them into leadership.
2 years.
I know. I'm like, do you know
2 years?
Even 1 year of concentrated focus from the best person possible at the job allows you to leap so far as an organization, and you can very well know that person is gone and that person is so fucking valuable for that year. Guess what else happens then? Somebody else who is not quite ready, who is just as hungry, gets better over that year and is ready to step into that place. Or there's like so many opportunities missed by somebody who going, I don't know, man, they're not trying to be here for a lifer, so I'm not going to give, like, it's just insane.
Here's the thing.
It's insane.
Nobody knows.
That's the other part.
You never know.
We were trying to be lifers somewhere, and then
we were trying to be lifers. We've had people who were going to be lifers. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. And you hit on some other shit, which is somebody who's not quite ready, and not quite ready is a great way to be.
Totally.
I mean, that's how we've been our whole lives. Not quite ready, and then just stepping into the next thing, and not quite ready, and not letting that perfect be the enemy of the good, to where, oh, this person's showing promise. They got a lot of potential. They're taking a lot of initiative, but they are not ready to be a team leader, or they are not ready. So I'm just not going to hire anybody. And
then I'm going to work my life to
and
this
it's going to be
shit show.
hard.
Yeah.
And it's okay to let people fail forward, to let people struggle through things. It's okay to even have that conversation. It's like, hey, guess what? I believe in you a lot. You're kicking ass in these 3 places. You really need to improve in these 2. We're going to work together, and we're going to build these things, and I'm going to take you to the next level right now.
Mm-hmm.
you got to put in the work too. And
Absolutely.
that's okay. That gives them something to work for. It's not, where are you going to find the perfect candidate? Where are you going to find the complete package? None of us are that.
None of us are that, and nor will you be till you go through it and experience it. You could even be the best person on paper and then come in and actually not be good at all for what we're trying to pull off. And it's really important to notice those things.
Oh yeah, doing is a huge key too. It's like we could, and we did read so many books on business ownership, creating culture, like how to build healthy workplace organizations, and we had no idea how it was going to work until we actually did it.
Yeah, it's not plug and play.
It's not like, oh, we know what we're doing, and now we're going to run this perfect thing. It's okay, cool. Now reality kicks in,
right?
And you have to learn on the job.
I mean, so I'll shout out our boy Andre. He is a perfect example of this. Back when before we transitioned, we were transitioning through COVID, I guess I should say, and we were going through just staffing changes and all those things. And Andre was applying at the time to just get a small raise and maybe be a cert. And his interest, his desire, and all those things allowed me, and this is prior to Levi and Nicole hiring for the place, but I was like, I'm going to hire him for coordinator, and I'm going to straight up tell him, like, you are not fully ready to be a coordinator, but you are the right person to be a coordinator. And it was a surprise to the entire leadership team, even though they were down at the time. It was such an interesting time where I was like, I'm taking overall hiring for leadership right now for a little while. It was really weird for retail. But that was such a thing where it was like, Andre, you are not ready for this job, and we both know you're not ready for this job, but you are willing to do what it takes to be good at this job, and you're willing to lean into all of your resources to become better here. And that is enough to offer you a job where you're like slightly below level of like whatever it means to us to be in that position. And that's exactly what we're saying is potential is worth a lot. Potential and track record is so key.
Track record's huge.
You know,
track record's big for me.
It is absolutely big. Like,
track
how do you respond to all the shit?
As long as you have to be able to perform core functions, right? But as long as someone's competent, track record weighs so heavy for me in figuring out who to put in certain places and who to give more responsibility to. Mm-hmm. Because if someone's proven over and over and over that they can get it done, that they're about the culture, that they're just really vibing with, I know why I'm here and I know what we're trying to accomplish and I'm on this team to do that, fuck, that's worth so much.
Right. And that's where positive turnover, though, is key, because sometimes you get to a place, actually probably more often than sometimes, I bet most of the people who listen to this have cafes that are at a point where they're not going to be able to grow for a time, or they went through a time when they were kind of the same for a while in building. What happens then is those potential people who are ready to lead your culture forward and continue inspiring whoever's next, they end up kind of staying the same for a really, really long time. And all that is what it is. You're in the same place, doing the same job for a long period of time, and it's probably not bad or good. It's probably great for a job. If you work for Cat and Cloud, it's probably a lot of fun. But at the same time, every human being wants to be challenged. And so there's only a few things you can do if you're stuck at that level, which is challenge them with outside things and internal tasks and stuff that's kind of like really fun and meaningful, but it doesn't take them or the business like up enough for them to feel like they have something new. And eventually those people either burn out, or they're the kind of people who are in like the 2% that are willing to have the same job for 10 years, right? It's like there's not many people who are willing to have the same job for 10 years without any sort of growth, unless it's monetary and they're happy and they can go to work and clock out and that's what they want to do, right?
And every wave of hires provides you, the business, a chance to get better at what you're doing. So let's say we had zero turnover. Our orientation would probably suck. Our onboarding would probably suck. Our training would probably suck. But since we have a certain amount of turnover, every time we bring on new staff, we get to look at the things that we're doing to bring people into the organization. We get to look at our training and do it better.
Right.
Should
you choose to be the kind of organization that cares like we do.
Right. It provides so much perspective. It's practice. You're training. You get to train yourself to train other people, and it's pretty awesome.
I mean, the leveling up only will occur with the turnover, whether it's positive or negative, if you decide to be the kind of leadership team and organization that cares about what, why, and how these things are happening, and then leveling yourself up. I totally agree. It's just something that's so interesting, and it's just been on my mind. We basically did just talk about it, which is fun. Turnover isn't good or bad. It is. It's part of the equation, and how you look at it and how you prepare to be better for the future is absolutely key. And it is interesting to see how much we've focused on so many of these little details over the last, especially year and a half, maybe, whenever COVID started. I guess more than a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Call it January last year. October, we started looking at it seriously, walked through it. But man, it is awesome and really amazing that every time we bring people on now, there's an energy, and there was before, but there's a different kind of energy and focus where there's a genuine understanding. And shout out to our whole team. If you listen to this, shout out to our whole team. The activity and the engagement of the frontline team members in holding each other and their stores accountable to culture and quality is the highest it's ever been. So shout out to everybody, the leadership team, and all y'all who are joining and taking the initiative to actively protect our culture. It truly is what makes organizations great. And that's the shit that makes me excited. And that's also the shit that can bring me down the most, is when you can see that potential and you don't have all of the people kind of engaged in the concept of bringing it together. Like, it's almost however they feel, they're not utilizing their strengths and their opportunities to use their voice to better something. And I want to shout out all y'all there's a different level of engagement right now that we've seen, and I think we're going to continue to see that makes me excited. It's the kind of engagement that I go and experience in places that we just talked about at the beginning that I want. And it's great to know that people have each other's back and our back in that, because that's the beginning of allowing us to hopefully grow this place a little more, instead of having to continue to think kind of back or reinforce that 100% as ourselves. You have support. It's a really nice feeling. I changing it hard, but that's the stuff that makes me happy. I feel like I have a team then.
Yes.
I don't feel like I'm a weird guy who's like, I go just believe. And they're like, this guy's fucking crazy. He believes in some shit that's just crazy.
Yeah, it's been a while since
that's
happened for sure. But yeah, I get how it's in your
Hey,
in your
by
head.
the way, we're hiring. So if you are interested in a roastery position, kitchen position, by the way, they split tips evenly. Did you know that we have a 4-week paid stipend for travel for those people who work full time for us, and 2 weeks for those who work part time? This is a hard pitch because California, as we talked about in the podcast, is short on laborers, and team members at our place are worth a little bitty penny. We like you. You should come work with us.
Tips in the kitchen is a good bonus. The culture in there is cool.
They're creating a proper culture. It's not a kitchen culture.
Different than most kitchen cultures.
And we serve some of the best food, and we're going to create better food. So
we're also hiring a marketing assistant.
See, we are
a marketing
on all
concierge.
fronts.
Actually, I'll use our language. Marketing concierge.
Great.
Someone to help with the podcast editing, put together some graphic design stuff, make some more of what Jared's wearing right there. Do some merch stuff.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
You can't do the tunes because I'm gonna take you out on
Take me out
one
on
of my
the beat,
fresh
dude.
tunes. Let me take you out with some bones.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some bones. Hey y'all, I'll see you next time on the Cat and Cloud podcast, where we turn up and get ripped on life, love, and passion. Hey, that's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening. I know this is the time, the shameless, classic, we need your help, but we do want to get our message out there, and we do want to share this with a lot of people. So if you could share this with others, you could subscribe, you could rate, you could review. It would greatly help us as we continue to push through not only the YouTube as it's fresh, but also the general podcast as we took nearly an entire year off from doing it. And so please do so, share it. I believe that we have some information and some perspectives that could help not only people in the coffee industry, but people in any industry, any walk of life. So do us that favor, do us that solid, bring us that love, and turn up for us, please. And I hope you all have a great time. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.